some of the more intermediate to expert level things that goes on in this game. Today we are going to talk about scouting pokes. For this example, I'm going to be using Kung Lao because the most important thing to note about scouting pokes is the strike throw mix-up, how to establish it, and how to increase your success rate with this mix-up.
Kung Lao.
Kung Lao is a perfect example of a character that requires knowledge of this sort of thing, because many of his interactions require you to scout a poke and successfully determine whether you want to throw a strike or a throw. I'll put Kung Lao on both sides for the sake of this example and for the rest of this lesson. So as you are in the 105 class, you understand the basics of neutral, you understand how to pressure the opponent, you understand what your character's normals do and how they operate. You understand frame data, and I am going to speak as if though you understand all of these things. So, the scouting poke portion of the game comes in, I would say, the first match or the first round of either Combat League or, maybe a long set. And it is the first way to determine what your opponent does or what your opponent's tendencies are when you hit them. Scouting pokes is very good in Combat League, I would say. It's a very strong thing to do, and it's very important skill to have in Combat League because many of the players there are of the intermediate to high, but not top level of combat play. There's a lot of feints and stuff that may go on in high level play that just go over certain people's heads, and there's a lot more meticulous thinking going on in terms of the decision making process in the game. Sorry. So, with that being said, let's begin this lesson by talking about when this becomes useful. As we all know, you're crouching 1 and you're crouching 3 or 4, whichever you're going to be using in this situation. Let me get this guy into normal stance and I'll put him to auto block. But for the most of this lesson, the CPU is going to be doing stuff to me. But yeah, these are normal. These are your. Maybe you shouldn't be on that. You should just not be blocking. These are normals that you are going to be using in situations where you're trying to get the opponent off you. These normals are very fast. They have very solid hit advantage, and in some cases they even jail. Well, it should be universal that all of them jail now. I don't know if there's an instance in this game where a character does not still jail off these normals, but they do jail. See? So I did down 3 into 2-1. As you know, 2-1 is a string that is completely high. And I had no problem confirming that portion of the string, which means that I can get the rest of it. Use it to get a combo extension, or whatever I have use for it for at the time being. At surface level, and I would say at the mid-level of play of this game, this is all that you're down 1, you're down 3, down 4, so on and so forth are good for. It's just good for jailing and getting the opponent off you. But what a lot of players do not know is that you can actually scout your opponent's defensive habits using these normals. And you can actually train the opponent to do certain things based on these normals. I'll explain. So, in this situation, Kung Lao is going to hit me with a down 3, then immediately follow up with a forward 4 and block. This interaction, this entire interaction is one sequence. For those of you that do not know, and I'm going to explain it here as well as in another guide, you should check out my Combat Class 101 or 103. I'll put that in the 103 section and explain what a sequence is there. But for short, a sequence is basically a series of actions that you perform to generate a reaction out of the opponent. You can identify certain sequences or break certain actions into sequences, and this should help you, the player, determine what the opponent is doing and how you are going to go about adapting to what they're doing. Now that we've established that, we're also going to use this knowledge of sequencing as our framework to set up a flowchart. This sequence here happens a lot. You're going to run into this situation here a lot. It doesn't matter what character you're playing, there will always be a point in the game where you're going to be forced to hit down 1 or you're going to be forced to hit down 3. It is the easiest and safest way to get out of pressure because they are both mids or lows, and the opponent is going to be forced to block them or do something of significance. You have two outcomes when you've established your first sequence. Well, technically three. You have three outcomes when you establish this sequence. In a general, broad spectrum, your mid-level player is going to determine the sequence based on two things. Did I hit my attack? In the event that they hit their attack, they are going to press the sequence again. As you can see, the Kung Lao dummy is doing. I'm trying to mash on him. Hypothetically, I'm pressing 1. He gets a confirm off of that. He gets that sequence going. He hits that part there. There's a knockdown after that portion of the sequence. It's all advantage for him. Let's see. He's plus 27 on that. He can dash cancel, meaty me. He can dash cancel, throw me, do whatever he wants to do. He can walk back. That's a good sequence for you, the player, to see how the opponent interacts with your normals. Okay, so let's get into the second portion of this sequence. In the event that I block, the Kung Lao player has lost nothing here. The roles are reversed. It is my turn to play the game now, and I have a strike throw mix-up. The Kung Lao player still does not lose anything from using this sequence, because if he gets thrown, he has data on the opponent now that determines that the opponent is going to throw him. If it's a strike, he's already blocking. He can put in his head, okay, the first time he did this sequence, he decided to strike. My suggestion to you is to use the rule of 3. Try to get yourself in this situation at least 3 times, and unless they're going for a hit confirm off that, you can, well, a hit confirm that's gonna do some crazy retarded amount of damage, which is possible in this game. But anyway, I digress. Unless they are going for some crazy hit confirm that is going to kill you, feel free to scout this out 3 times. Remember that the games are best 2 out of 3, so look for this sequence here about 3 times and determine what the opponent is reacting with. What I'm saying is do down 3 into forward 4 3 times. See if they change their tendencies, and if they do not change their tendency, you can move on to the second phase of this mix-up. You can use this, get a throw here. Well, determine if they want to throw you here. You can use that information. See if they want to go for something of that nature here. And finally, the third part of this mix-up that is so important for you to know about is that you should actually be looking to see if this is punishing something or hitting the opponent on counter hit. I'm actually mentioning this now, I'll take him off of playback for now, because this is what I used to do in this situation before I realized that I could make this a completely advantageous situation for me. I used to hit down 1 and then walk back and leave myself open to somebody retaliating with a 4 or something of that nature. I failed to realize that I could hit down 1 and scout by pressing my advantage. I had no reason to walk back and see if the opponent was pressing a button. I'm plus 10. This is a 14 frame move. This comes out technically in 4 frames. I'm plus 10. I can do forward 1. That's a 10 frame move. They have no chance of interrupting my normal there unless I drop the input. In which case, it's my fault. I don't have to walk back here. You don't have to unless you want to, and you want to establish a bigger punish. We'll get to the walk back phase and when it's important to start walking back later, but for now let's talk about the third interaction that can happen here. Let's set Kung Lao back to playbot. As you can see, if you look at the corner of the screen, it's a little bit hard to see. There's a counter on the side of the offensive person. This counter means that the opponent was trying to do something. Again, your tree branches off in another way here. You can switch the way you're doing the normals to scout for what they're doing. For example, maybe it's a throw and you can get like a down 2 combo off of this. This is where the shimmy comes in. Let's set him to do a shimmy here. No, that's wrong. That's wrong. You can walk back now, and you can scout for that throw if you want to scout for that throw. See, I've determined that the opponent likes to throw here after my down 3, and it cost me nothing, basically, because I did a down 3, and I hit you with a forward 4. I got damaged that interaction there. I did a down 3. I mixed it up. I walked back. I determined that that's what you like to do. And now I know what I can do with this information. I have 2 options here. I can actually go for the same move again. Wait. What are you doing, guy? Oh, there we go. Do the down 3 and neutral duck. In which case the throw will whiff. So I'll do this. Oh, what the fuck? I didn't even hit that. I don't know how he got that. That's kind of cool. But yeah. Do this, neutral duck, and do that. Too early. Score that punish there, and basically, well, you guys know how the combo. You guys know how the combo goes from here. But for those of you who don't, let's see. Let's set him to stand. %. Free, easy. 40% gone. Look at all that. Look at all that damage. You got all of this just from establishing this sequence and scouting this move to see if you got a counter hit or not. You can extend this sequence even further if you want and make it safe in the event that you're playing Kung Lao. And do... Oh, I'm using the hat trick variation, I'm sorry. But yeah, in the Lotus Fish variation, you can actually extend this sequence to do something, to do extra stuff. But I'm kind of getting off the topic here. The whole point of establishing this sequence is to see if you've gotten a counter hit or not, and based on that info, you can decide how you want to punish. If you got a counter hit, another thing you can go for here is this. Wait, hold on, I gotta do that properly. Okay, so this is interruptible at 7 frames. But if he's trying to throw, you get that. Okay, so there we go. Here's another thing that you can do if you want to walk back and use the walk back to see what option the opponent has using your frame data. If you know that they're going for maybe a mid in this situation here, you can use forward 2, and you can score yourself a pretty big combo based on that. If they're blocking, let's get back to this sequence here. Let's get back to this earlier portion of this two action sequence, right? If they block this, well, it's not your turn, but you can turn seal with a throw or whatever you want to do, depending on how much you respect your opponent, because this is all a part of that sequence. You can throw this out, then do this here, and if they block it, that means that they respect your down 3. That means you can start opening them up with throw later on in the game. But that's a little risky in and of itself. I'd say try to play it safe, try to play an honest game as much as possible. But yeah, getting back into this sequence, you can establish more things by scouting your down 3 and using those options, looking for a counter hit, looking for a regular hit, or looking to see if they block the normal that is there. So yeah, that about does it for sequencing, well, advanced sequencing and scouting your 1 or 3. I really hope that this helps you guys, you know, in terms of your offense. If you're using it properly, it should, because you're establishing dominance off of your downward post. Like, you're looking to see what you can maximize on and how you can exploit the opponent more, basically. I don't see any reason why that won't benefit anyone. In any event, guys, I'm AJ the Rum Punch Kid. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.